one comment between, I think, all of us or three of us, we have at least three studio experience.
Yes.
Paramount, Disney, Warner's. We have tons of post-services experience, so you can trust this panel here. And we're going to start with Leonard. First question, can you talk about what Microsoft is doing about localization services and AI?
Yeah, definitely. Um, just to set the context, we talked before too. We need to first understand localization, what happened, how it changed. Not a as you can see, my mother tongue is not English, but I watched a famous dinosaur movie in 1995, translated to my mother tongue, and the climax was funny. It was not scary. So localization has a big impact for experience as part of experience. So we come a long way. It's been 20 years, but we come a long way. But previously, before there was a transition needle where we moved from we call NMT, neural machine translation, to Gen AI translation. So the key difference, I would say, is translation versus response. How you identify something and you translate something versus how you identify something and respond in that language. So that's the key difference, and how we train either an application or a model towards to do that is the transformation space. So with Microsoft, we have a variety of platforms, and because legal may need translation and M&E may need response, it kind of there's a it's not one size fits all kind of thing when it comes to translation. And information context matters, emotions matters. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle which matters, and some apps may be really good, some apps may not be, some models may be really trainable in that fashion. So we do a bunch of these variations and come up and host a platform. So based on the fidelity of the consumer, we let the experience or the workflow pick the option. So we used to have, as I was talking to, I was talking before the panel, we had like multiple speech studio, multiple vision studio, kind of a lot of things with multimodal coming in. We want to converge everything into something called an AI foundry, where you can have a playground to play with things, find out 5 models, same input, how the output comes, what is the benchmark, I like this better, and consume it. And you can do it on the fly too. Obviously, there'll be a cost impact to it when you run the same thing across a few things. But the goal is to provide multiple options for folks like Vidby and others to pick up the core model and the core foundations and fine tune to a domain expertise and deliver that information. So you even today you can go to Azure Foundry. You not only cognitive services, you have OpenAI models or other 170 models we approve available. You can pick any one, throw a context. It's just like a chat interface. You can just throw a context, pull the model in, and see your output. Go benchmark it with 5 other models, and then you can feel what it is. Everybody can do it if you have a subscription. So that's the first step, and then you can do more things around it.
Can you talk a little bit about edge translation?
Oh, thank you.
You talked about it a bit yesterday, but just for this audience.
So with edge translations was more focused towards multiple things, and sustainability was one of our key elements, because sometimes you predict something but that won't happen, you measure something that won't get properly cut, kind of things, where then you may translate into 50 language, but there may be 3 people watching that, and now you have 50 files sitting on a server burning, kind of doing all those things. So we wanted to go towards on demand. That's more on the edge side. So what if a browser SDK comes in, which can, kind of those kinds of ideas are getting explored, where things are translated on the fly, but also give enough experience. There's a lot of legality around it. How do we DRM it? How do you, do all those things? But the goal is to see convert on the fly, and if there is more need, then have an orchestration engine that creates it and leaves them as an in files for you, kind of thing.
Thank you. By the way, while Leonard was speaking, the language model got better. Okay. And on that note, Renard, I want to give you a chance to talk about your participation in localization services, your company, and a little bit of how emotion and culture play a role in this.
Yeah, I think what's really important is that we're moving beyond just translation. As you know, translation in the past has been a very sort of monosyllabic type of endeavor, and it simply just stated what was happening in the scene. In order to enhance the way that entertainment is being consumed, the ability for a lot of these models, like what Vidbai is doing, to actually come in and not just bring emotion, but bring emphasis on on the proper words and the syntax that goes along with it, but also really taking a look at the culturalization of what's actually being done through the translation. As Leonard said, he looked at a movie and it was funny instead of being scary. That had to do with context, but it also had to do with the lack of understanding the culture in which you were actually translating the piece. That's what I think is important for us as we start to look at localization going further. Yes, localization, that's great, but culturalization is actually what we should be seeking in order to make the entertainment and make the product really hit home with the audience in which you're actually delivering it.
So that is great. Thank you. What do you think the future gonna look like? I mean, with all this technology.
Yeah, I think that the future, from what we're seeing, there are a number of systems and applications that are being built right now that are able to map the face as well, to make sure that the emotions that are coming from the actor and how they're emoting is going to push us forward. And while that does have the ability to put us in the space where we need to think about deep fakes and things of that nature, it also gives us the opportunity from the media and entertainment side to give a better performance globally. And that then brings up the value of the content that we're creating. So I do believe that that's what we're going to see going forward. But the ability to do live translations with emotion is really a step forward, because I can tell you, by using some of these tools, and the first time that I was on a call with Dennis, I do not speak Ukrainian. However, Alex, who was on the other side, does, and he does not speak English. But we had a conversation, and to hear the words that I'm saying, to then have the proper emphasis and the proper context in Ukrainian was like surprising to me, because I have a very Bay Area kind of laid back style of speaking, and all of a sudden I'm hearing myself speaking as an Eastern European. It was interesting. But it made for an easy way for Alex and I to actually talk about the product and talk about where it could go. So yeah, I think that's really what we're going to see in the future. And Leonard and I were talking about AGI and what that's going to bring in. So we can talk about that a little bit later in the conversation. But that's a whole nother game changer that's coming our way real soon.
Thank you, Renard. This is great segue to Dennis. And emotions are, we deal with this every day. I can say I love you with hate, or I hate you with love. So on that note, Dennis, take over and see what you do.
So as I said, we translate videos voice to voice, and the majority of our clients really every time ask about emotions. Of course, we translate educational content, we translate documentaries where emotions do not play so important role. But at the same time, every time when we discuss new projects with YouTubers or studios who create feature films, they always ask us if you can translate with emotions. Oh, you can't translate with emotions, sorry. And so in this case, they continue to use human translation. But it's obviously that market will develop and the new stage will be translation with emotions. And of course, we paid serious attention to accurate detection of emotion from the screen, accurate detection emotions from the speech, accurate attention to the emotions from cultural nuances. So we try to create models to convey accurately these emotions. And just to explain you what does it mean, what's the difference AI translation with emotions and without, I will show you a short video. Could you switch on my computer? Yeah, thank you.
Was ist passiert? Sie müssen es mir sagen.
Sie waren bei einem Boxkampf.
This is
Es war ein
original in German
Weltmeisterschaftskampf der Frauen.
and later.
Da hat es einen schrecklichen Unfall gegeben.
I loved him.
This
And
is
so,
normal
Didi's
translation
mother,
without emotions. This is
I
just
should have been with him when he
full AI
died.
translation.
It was awful.
What happened? You have to tell me.
They were at a boxing match. It was a women's world championship match.
So it's not so captivating.
There was a terrible accident there.
I loved him, and so did his mother.
It has
I should
more
have been with him when he
emotions.
died.
It already has emotions.
It was awful.
What happened? You have to tell me.
They were at a boxing match. It was a women's world championship match. There was a terrible accident there.
Stop. If you are buying
Sorry. It was YouTube, yeah. It was difficult to find a good example because many of works that we conduct now with the partners, they are under NDA, and not all videos is possible to show. But just to explain you how important emotions in the line of evolution of translation, I prepared you like a historical evolution of machine translation. There are some theories that machine translation started in 17th century because Leibniz and Descartes made a basement of this with his research about translation, and also in 1933 Peter Trojansky created a simple machine for the translation. It was like a first stage of research in this field. Of course, it's not machine translation not started with ChatGPT. It has a long story, and a lot of people try to make something before to create something now. And the next stage, it was a stage of initial experiments and early systems. It was in 40s and 40s and 50s. And in 1954, so-called the Georgetown IBM experiment successfully translated just 60 first sentences into English. And guess what? What was the language? What was the language? Original language translated from? What? Yes, you are right. Yeah, it was a competition of two big nations during the Second World War, and it was necessary to understand what your competitors say. So it was a first step of translation by computers, with computers. And on the next stage, so-called rule-based machine translated appeared. And of course, after this, the accuracy became much better. Not like the first experience with 60 sentences. Just it was a miracle that, okay, it translates. It was not so important how it translates, but it was a first step. The next stage, very important stage, is statistical machine translation. It was really a background for future development, and it was about 2000, and the accuracy of translation is getting better and better. And the next stage, of course, it was that revolutionized the way how we translate. It was, sorry. It was neural machine translation. And this decade of neural machine translation created great programs that now we can use, like Microsoft Translate and Google Translate. And now all this the machine translation, AI translation based on the technologies of mostly Microsoft, Google, AWS, some other solutions. And but of course we are before the next stage, next significant stage of development of AI translation. And I think that we are going now to the new phase, new stage, so-called translation with the emotional transfer and translation with cultural nuances. And so, what is the difference? How usual AI translation works, and how translation with emotional transfer works? If you speak about usual translation, it's like simple speech-to-text recognition, then text-to-text translate, and then text-to-voice synthesis. And you will have new video dubbed in a new language. If we speak about translation with emotions, we should add additional parameters. And we should analyze also information from the screen. We should analyze information from the voice, the tone of the speaker, and of course the meaning of the speech itself, because text is the most important still. And so we should add additional parameters for all this new data. And when we make a synthesis of new voices in new language, we should add information from these parameters, and in this case we can have translation with emotional accuracy. It's a big difference, translation just with intonation, where no analyzing of the source materials, no analyzing when we should say with happiness, when we should say with other emotions. But if we speak about the translation with emotional accuracy, of course we should analyze when characters say "I love you" with inspiration, and when the characters say "I love you" with sarcasm, for example. It's a big difference, and the current technologies of AI translation can't transfer this in the information. And when we create this technology, of course, we expect a big demand from the market. For example, we already translate for the United Nations, for Harvard Medical School. They require translation, very accurate translation if we speak about the meaning. But, for example, recently we became officially suppliers of Paramount, and studios like Paramount or other who create feature films. Of course, they need translation with emotions. About video and audio localization. I would like to say that there are two different ways of technological research and development. One is translation of pre-recorded videos. It's obviously you produce videos, you are from the industry, you know how it works. But very important new sector of translation is live translation. Renard already said that we had some conversation, we spoke on Zoom, on Google Meet, and now you can use our technology on these platforms. But of course, if we speak about media entertainment industry, everybody waiting for live translation and think about streamings. Now latency is about 1 second to 2 seconds, sometimes 3 seconds. So it's difficult to translate live streams. But we are working on this to decrease the latency, and very important also to add the technology of voice cloning. And of course, we are only in favor to use responsibly voice cloning, only with the permission of actors. Only in this case, it will be good development for the industry as well, and it will bring prosperity to the industry, because in this case actors can also earn money when their voice will be used. I would like to say that last conference that Renard and team organized at the SMPT summit was really a significant step for the development of AI translation with emotions, and it was a good place to present our last R&D deliverables, and we presented there AI translation with emotional accuracy, our work about AI translation with emotional accuracy, and of course it's our work, but we are open for collaboration with other R&D groups, with studios, with partners, because actually, when I go to different conference abroad, I understand that competition is getting more serious, and the leadership of Hollywood is not unquestionable now, because it's really easy and to create something very fast and to change the market. And so in this case, I think we should collaborate and together try to create products that really differ situation. And it's very important to work, to go very fast and to create new technologies that will be even much more helpful, not only for American studios, but also to go global very fast and effectively. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. We have about 7 minutes left. Thank you, guys. This is very informal. I want to start with the Q&A session. I want to throw one curveball to Dennis. First question. This is great presentation. Is it actually doable, technically doable, to do translation with emotion?
Of course, I presented you like a simple algorithm, but if we speak about, we know the algorithms, how to create it. The only one question, if we can create it very fast or not, because if we translate without emotions, this is one piece of work. But if we translate with emotions, sometimes this task 100 times more, 100 times more time consuming and 100 times more money consuming. And so in this case, we know all algorithms how to create it. The only one way to partner and to make it faster than other countries create such technologies.
Thank you.
We have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, hello, Dennis. Elena here. How are you addressing colloquialisms and idiomatic expressions?
First of all, it's not a big task. If the system already trained with this knowledge, it will be translated. So many phrases. So if people can remember such phrases, of course, it's easy to teach a machine to translate this. But if we speak about some really serious cultural nuances, there are many challenges, and it's necessary to translate not only text, but translate to detect emotions and translate emotions. For example, very nice example. When you say, when you ask something to Bulgarian guy who speak Bulgarian according to Bulgarian tradition, they say something yes. Something like this, and the difference is absolutely opposite. And if we had once we had a situation when we translated video, and the answer was like, and it was necessary to translate yes. It was without sound. It wasn't possible to detect it, but it was necessary to translate accurately with understanding that it was expression of Bulgarian guy, and to translate it accurately into English like yes. And there are so many such examples, but it's necessary just to train the model, and the model will reproduce this.
I'm still looking for the holy grail, because in some languages it's nose to the wind, ear to the ground, and I'm always in search for that nuanced artisan gem.
When we work on these technologies, we also invite even anthropologists and people whose specialization is culture to this development. Yeah.
We have a question over here.
I have a question.
How do you handle profanity and other intensifiers, things like that? Profanity, swear words, and things like that. How do you generally handle that? Is that a dial you can choose? You know, that's a variable in the software that you can translate directly, or go to something.
Let's go back to this presentation. So the algorithm is really easy. Just to detect anything from the screen, detect anything from go back, just analyzing the content, but analyze the content not only text but also speech. Analyze cultural nuances, analyze information from the screen, the movements of people, and just to form database and to transfer this database into new language and make a synthesis of new voices and to create new videos. But in the main, to train the model in the middle that transfer this information from one database to another database, accurately transfer. And it's necessary just to teach all these nuances, to explain all these nuances to the machine, and machine will work correctly.
One more question. And
I've got a question less about the translation, but more about the then mapping that new language onto the video, so the mouth movements match the new language track. And is that something, because that feels like the next step, right? We're still disjointed between the original performance and the new synthetic voice. Who's working on that?
That's something that actually Flawless AI is working on, and they're doing a great job of doing the face mapping. What the work that we're doing on the background is the intonation and how the words are actually emphasized as they're being spoken. That's one of the key elements to what this is going on. But that could be the input into the video model. So we're working on the audio side of it and really focus heavily on that. And just to go back to the gentleman's question about profanity, everything is a part of the base model. You make sure that all of that is there, but then that's where the culturalization comes in, because in some countries, profanity is extremely frowned upon. So in the translation, even if someone were to use profanity, you can have the option to actually say, okay, would I allow this to go through, or do I, create a silent point at this word, or do I emphasize the word in the same way? But it is a part of the model. You don't sort of go in and scrape the model. You have to have that as a part of the base.
Just to add to that one, what Bernard was talking about, and to follow up that question, data set is highly important. What data set you're using to train the model, and it could be tagged, it could be untagged. That's more critical. And the amount of data, like Dennis was saying, somebody going into a car, opening the door, say get in. Get in is the only word on that scene. But it could be somebody kidnapping something and say get in, and then somebody having a regular person saying please get in, right? So when you translate, there's a lot of context from the scene, cultural. In Japanese, it depends upon, it's a person opening the door, elderly, to the person getting in, so the word changes. In my native language, it's a different tone of adding a back end to that word to make it sarcastic. So there's a lot of data around it, but by default, at least with Azure, most of the models come with all those meters enabled, as you talked about, profanity and all those things. So if you just send in a word that's not acceptable, it will not do it for you. You got to take a responsible AI step to go enable those things. And it's all trained natively with an untagged data set, so it should be able to translate to what you want. But it's the governance around it is critical. The same thing applies for lip syncing too, because now I'm making changes to a video translation. I know that person is not talking in that language. I'm okay. With zero-shot model, I can use the same source voice to the target. Now it becomes absolutely like the person talking a different language, which the person may not know. So there's a lot of legal ecosystem around it, which we need to cross, but technology is there.
And I would like also to add to the question about lip synchronization. Everybody asks about lip synchronization now, lip sync, but there are big difference, like when people just curious about this, and the payable demand. And the payable demand not high for lip synchronization. Accuracy of translation and cultural nuances, emotional transfer, this is much more important, and people are ready to pay for such content. Why is not so big demand for lip sync? For example, probably about 80% of our translation is translation for YouTube. And YouTube just started so-called multilingual audio track channels. When you watch one channel with one video track, and it contains different audio tracks. And so it's impossible to modify, it's impossible to add additional video file. It's possible to add only additional audio file to the same video. And so people are ready to pay for accurate translation, but not for lip synchronization. And also, if about the rights to localize content, sometimes it's a right to modify voice, but not modified video. And the third question, when people still feel that this is lip synchronization, still understand that this is modification of video. And immediately, if you watch video of President Biden with lip synchronization, there's no trust to this speech. And also, if you watch documentaries, if you watch news, if you watch other videos where information really important, lip synchronization immediately decrease the level of trust to this video. And so even after some trial translation, people still require just accurate translation of voices, but not lip synchronization. Only two markets where there is a payable demand for lip synchronization. One is cartoons, where video is fake. Not a problem if you make any modification with video. It will be the same level of trust. And the second market, very small market, when your channel create fakes and say about this. In this case, yes, they are ready to pay for lip synchronization, but this is not serious market. This is very small market. Yeah.
We're gonna have to wrap it up.
Okay, thank you.
That's all right. Obviously, we could go on and on about this, but I appreciate it. Gentlemen, let's give our panel a hand, please.